Lymn rises in the Lincolnshire Wolds on the eastern slope of Castlecliff Hill. It's in Fullerby parish. It flows south-eastwards towards the Lincolnshire Marsh, and then it becomes known as the Steeping River on the boundary of Great Steeping. Even though it's classed as a river, it's more of a stream really. It's what you have is some deep holes, and it literally comes up then to inches, and it's finding these little deep holes. Some of them have got runs through them that are about 50 meters long, others are just a little hole that you get a bit of a backwash in, and these are the ones that you fish. Basically these hold little pockets of fish. They don't hold numbers of fish, and you'll usually get bites for perhaps an hour and pick a dozen fish up, and they start to back off as you start catching them with the disturbance, and eventually they spook all together and they disappear. So from that point of view, it's not a river that you're going to probably sit on a peg all day and fish. If you've got a bit of time, you'll perhaps fish a little hole for about an hour, catch a few fish, and once you stop getting bites, you pick your tackle up and you go for a walk, find another deep hole somewhere, catch a few fish, and so you'll carry on. From this point of view, you're going to carry, sort of travel pretty light. You're not going to be carrying a lot of gear with you. On this particular session, I'd got a rod, a centre pin reel. It was a stick float because it's running water. It's carried 3 number 4s, and I was using number 4 shot, big number 4 shot, non-toxic of course. To this, because the fish generally aren't very big, you're looking at a 0.08 diameter hook length, which is round about £1.5 to maybe £2, depending on what you actually get. And I was fishing a size 18 barbless hook. Bait was pretty straightforward. All I took with me was a pint of maggots, and apart from that I'd got a landing net, disgorger, a few extra shot in case I lost some, couple of extra hook lengths in case I lost those, and a plummet just to find these deep holes. It was quite an enjoyable session actually. So I got quite a few fish, mostly sort of roach, dace, and I think I got 3 chublets as well. The actual river, it holds, as I say, roach, dace, chub. I've had chub to £3, but they are pretty rare, and if you get one a pound, to be honest, it's a good fish for the river. It also holds gudgeon. You get quite a lot of eels in the summer, and it's also got bullheads, which I'd never heard of before I actually fished this river. And if you've ever seen them, they're all head basically. That they are. They're a bit like a small catfish. Also, there's the odd brown trout that rears its head every now and again, which are fun to catch. That they are. You find that the river, so it's got these deep pockets, but it really does rise up to nothing, especially in the summer months. And what you find, it gets very weeded as well. So you can see this peg that I chose on this particular day. I've got some reeds that stick out in the water on the far bank, and then there's some overhanging reeds past that are actually on the bank side itself on the far bank. I chose this because, as you know, we've had a lot of rain just recently, and the water's sort of boiling through, and the fish didn't really want it, in that fast running boiling water. So this enabled me to sort of find a nice steady bit of water on the far bank. The fish seemed holed up there, and you could pinch a few out. Most of the fish are sort of this size, sort of 2, 3, 4 ounce fish. The roach and dace. They're not huge fish, but as I say, they're fun to catch. Did actually make me reminisce a bit this session, because we're going down and taking such little tackle. It used to remind me of the days when I was younger, and you didn't used to carry the half ton of tackle that we carry nowadays, where you've got sort of 10 top kits and 2 or 3 rods set up round you all the time, and carrying tackle round on wheelbarrows to get to your pegs. So it was a nice change. Tend to try and fish a bit of running water at this time of year, because it makes the fish sort of work a bit harder, whereas if you go to ponds, they tend to become a bit dormant. even these sort of sessions, I mean, I think this one I'd got a spare hour, so that's the reason I only fished one peg on this particular day. It's been struggling out to get out to the river and find it, that it's not bank high and absolutely tramming through. Because with it being such a small river, it is very susceptible to sort of rising levels and flooding almost onto the fields at the side. There's a lot of fields and there's a lot of water that comes down from Horncastle, released from Horncastle as well. All I was doing was dropping the stick float just across to the far bank, or as near to the far bank as I could reasonably get it. Sometimes I got a little bit too near and got snagged up on the far side, but I did edit that out because I know nobody likes to see that. And then it was just a case of flicking a few maggots across to the reeds so that it was in the slack water and you'd get a few fish. We're fishing a centre pin. It's a ball bearing race, and I was fishing a float just heavy enough so that it had generally, there was enough sort of pull on the river that with the weight of the float, the reel had come off by itself. It had sort of run smoothly by itself, which just creates it to hold back a fraction. But as the river was boiling, and it had still, even on the slack across the other side, every now and again it had all swirl across to the far side. The float had sort of stop in one of these boils, and you'd find it would go sideways, and of course the reel was still running, and I did get stuck round the back of the reel, overruns a few times. Some of it were down to my bad angling, I'll be honest. So it's nice when you get them just in that flow. The fish feel about 4 times sort of bigger than they actually are, which again makes a nice change from pond fishing. There's a little chublet. I varied the shotting pattern by bulking it down at the bottom and also spreading the shot out shirt button style to create different sort of falls in the water and how the maggots fluttered up to create just to try and entice a bite here and there. So just flicking a few maggots across to that far bank there, just to keep the fish interested, but not feeding too much, because if you feed too much they soon go, because it is a small pocket of fish. You're not going to draw a lot of new fish in. See now that the fish are backed off a little bit down the peg. Nice bend in the rod here. Got the fish on. I've got it round the back of the reel. Do manage to keep sort of pressure on the fish. With it being a barbless hook, very often they'll just come off themselves. And then it's a case of pull the loop over the back of the reel to release it, and then play the fish as normal. And I do actually manage to get this one in. Nice little bend in the rod as it hits the flow of the river. Old style fishing, I call it. So now we've got another fish on it. It's been quite a while since I'd actually had a bite here, and you think that they've actually gone. So nice to see the float go under. Nice little chublet. Bit lively this one. And what it did with the moving about, it decided to throw a few maggots up out its mouth. Reminds me of the old days with the chub on the Trent. But even a chub this size, it had ate about 20 or 30 maggots, still chewing them, and it was still feeding. So it just shows what they do feed. So this one a bit lively. It does eventually go back. Don't matter because I want using a keep net. There he goes. Sack the juggler. So once again I've got it round the back of the reel. Not the greatest of anglers, I know. I do make a lot of mistakes, anybody who knows me. But my motto is if you can't be good, be lucky. And once again I do get the fish out, which is what it's all about at the end of the day. This is the river a couple of days after. We've had a load of water come down, as you can see, and this is how badly it affects it for such a small stream. You can see the watermark on the bank. It had actually dropped about a foot from the night before. As we know, this sort of November, we've had that much rain, it's been unreal, and same as everywhere else we've suffered with it, but not as bad as some, so we can't really moan. Them reeds that were on the far bank there that I was fishing to completely disappeared now. Won't even know that they were there if you come down fishing now. No good trying to fish this at the moment. Hopefully give it a couple of days, and so if we don't get any more rain it drops quite quickly, and hopefully get back down again and catch a few more fish. But it's really swirling through at the moment.